You're muted.
Aha. Welcome back, everyone. The Deadlock Fight Night number 29. Here, now moving along to North America ZP here with Jake. And that's why you can't do the show alone, because you need someone to tell you when you have muted yourself. Otherwise, it'll be just lasting far too long. But Jake, we're getting on into it. Valhalla looking to reclaim a spot, or not reclaim, but get a spot on the top. But they're going to have to go through the TF2 Avengers. Not quite the TF2 Boomers. You know, it's TF2 Boomers core plus other people assembled spur of the moment.
Yeah, you know, Deadlock, it's always shaking things up, especially in NA right now, coming and going and rebuilding. So it's always curious to see, you know, new blood come in. For a while it was Melee Creeps on top, right, taking over the throne. But now let's see if Valhalla or TF2 Avengers ends up taking it. I mean, Valhalla has been a pretty stiff challenger even to some of our top teams, so I would expect them to be a bit of a favorite. But of course, Hydra Nation reclaiming that title last week, they're waiting in the money match, and I don't think they want to relinquish it so easily.
No, not at all. And I mean, you take a look, NA probably at times our most volatile region, if for nothing else. It's not just that when teams end up losing the crown, that they lose the crown for a while. It's that when teams lose the crown, Jake, they redo their entire rosters. That's the North America way, where you have to just execute half your team upon losing. I don't know if Melee Creeps got rid of that many, but Melee Creeps is now going through roster shuffles also after losing last week. So losing in NA carries a deep cost. But you know what doesn't carry a deep cost, Jake? Our merch. That's right. We haven't done the merch read here today. In case you're curious, we do have some cool, legally distinct stuff that you can go on and grab. Well, you know, usually. But it's at deadlockfightnight.com, and yeah, some cool stuff there. But merch stuff aside here, Jake, other person that we got an intro here who also, you know, not too expensive to have on your broadcast. Sorry, we got Jason Kaplan. I don't know where I was going with that, Jason. I thought it was going to be a little bit more punchy.
You're cheap, and we don't respect you, Jason. That was the butt of the joke. That was heavy. That was, I'm not even sure where the joke was.
You could have just went with, we have some more cool stuff for you. We got our analyst coming in, but you went the really BM route. Okay.
You went scorched earth on him, man. Jeez, he's right here in the middle.
I don't even want to be here anymore. Damn, I don't like this animosity coming my way.
You're stuck in the middle the whole way through. You have to just deal with the terrible segue. But
need help, Jason.
Oh, there we go. You know what? Let's get Dan in here. He could bench press both you at once. Honestly, let's take this animosity and turn it away from me, and let's focus it on Deathy once again, because I'm always seeming to be on the show. I'm just kidding. I'm not gonna do it about Deathy. I'm not gonna do a man like that. But for TF2 Avengers, I think it's tough to expect a lot out of them going into this game, because they are basically a freshly newly formed team, and there's been a lot of things they've had to work on as a team, because in the past, when they were known as TF2 Boomers, one thing they really struggled on was just lane matchups. There was an obvious skill difference between them and their opponents when it came to that, and the snowball started pretty much from the get-go. But they have a pretty strong, like, Yam still there, Goobers, Gibbs, Deathy, like, very strong lineup. I don't know too much about Wander or Lona. I'm not sure actually how we're going to pronounce his name. But as you know, Jake said before, Valhalla have proven to be like a pretty decent staple in North America, and probably like the number 3 team at the moment.
Yeah, this is definitely going to be a skill check for TF2 Avengers, but I think it's also an opportunity they can compete, right? Like, it's one thing, you know, to win or lose this match, right? It's your first showing as a team. There's not so much pressure on TF2 Avengers, but it's more the way that the match goes, right? If it's like a non-competitive beatdown, that's going to be a mental blow. You might be a new team, but you want to win some fights, right? You want to have some advantages in the game, even if maybe the more experienced team is going to have an edge, especially getting into the more complex late game scenarios or drafting. But you just want to be able to compete and show that some of these new names coming into the scene are competitive. And I think that's something that I've personally come to expect. When I see a new player coming in, I'm actually excited and I'm interested to see how good they can be, because we're so early in the history of Deadlock. Just because we see some of these players and we think, oh, this is like the best player in the game right now, that is all going to change in time. And you never know where, you know, a new legend is going to be born. There's going to be, you know, some of the other top players in the game, you know, they all had their first game somewhere. And so I'm just curious to see how TF2 Avengers can play this one out, make it competitive. Can they put the pressure on Valhalla? Can they make this a real challenge?
Well, I think it's funny you use the word pressure here, because I do think that's something that's always at play anytime you have a team that's kind of a little bit in the pickup team variety. So, you know, full backstory on this, TF2 Boomers, the official squad is still going through trials. There's also a world where I think some of their members may end up on a different team, like for example, Melee Creeps is holding tryouts. But yeah, I mean, this is put together a little bit short notice because Melee Creeps is fully out this week. I went to Deathy, is like, hey, can we get TF2 Boomers in here? He's like, no, but we could put together the Avengers again. And I kind of ran with the team name wise. Like, Deathy was kind of complaining in chat, being like, I didn't choose the team name. It's like, well, you said you were the Avengers, and the core of it is still TF2 Boomer pilled. So is now the TF2 Avengers, even though I'm pretty sure, like, generally speaking, most of the players on this roster never actually played TF2 at this point. It just kind of lingers from previous.
I'm the last TF2 player left, ZP. The rest of us have died out.
I can't wait till next week when we have TF2 Revengers being played, and you're just going to keep adapting on the name. It's going to be a tough matchup, and I think all three of us here on the desk are probably all going to be leaning towards Valhalla to win this game. But I want to see some like glimpses of growth in TF2 Avengers. I want to see them have a much stronger early games. I think that's kind of where they struggled in the past, and it's hard to have a good mid or late game when you lost off the get-go and you fall 10,000 plus souls behind. So I want to see some potential. Also, maybe a good moment for some individuals to stand out, make a name for themselves in North America.
Yeah, and moving along as bam, my camera has swapped over here. I was looking at the size like I don't really want to deal with people. I was like, no. Now I can face you, Jason. After the terrible.
It was awkward after your segue. You had to turn away just to kind of.
Yeah, pretty much. I had to just go like, ooh, I can't actually look you in the eyes anymore. But I do believe we have our Mo 1v1 good to go here. We'll see who's gonna get their choice of side priority between the two teams. Or no, it's still in the way. It's cooking.
It's interesting because I think side prio right now, it's not super obvious what you want. I do feel like Calico looks like the premier first pick, at least from Europe, and I do agree with it. I just think it's such a powerful team fighter in the late game, and it's just sort of unique in the game, the way that I think this patch boxes are pretty buffed and like pretty strong to run, and just Calico's the best hero in the game for that, bar none. And so other than that, though, maybe it is the Geist is like the prio one beyond that in terms of like similar role, these high prio like frontliners that can also become carries and can also have really impactful damage dealing abilities in the late game. But so I mean, basically, I don't know if you even want. Do you ever not care if you win the Mo 1v1? I guess you always want to win, just to flex, just to let them know.
Yeah, I mean, Jason, you think about it here. Do you want to be the one chosen as the warrior, where the players literally call themselves like, "I will do the group chat," and the other team will go, "It's like, who's your warrior?" Do you want to let your team down by falling in Mo versus Mo combat?
I mean, I definitely don't want to be our warrior after the bashing I got from you two earlier on. I mean, I think probably made to have to do it, just thrown into the pit to die. But honestly, if I play the
Jason's corpse is on the edge of the Mo 1v1 pit.
Where are the Mo's?
Don't get production.
There they are. They're dropping in.
Happen.
Hold position. Hold your fire. Oh, the parry right off the bat, huh? All right.
Lord at M. Rough start for Valhalla. TF2 Avengers
lead.
Coming in hot. Oh, look at that. Just the hold.
Look at him.
The aura.
Wait till you see the whites of his eyes. It's such a huge HP lead. He needs to parry to win this. It's like the only possible way. Okay,
he leaves. Jason, sometimes knowing when to leave is important here in the Mo versus Mo. Oh,
yeah.
Wait.
Oh, I need just melee. Oh, he did not need a parry. He's just flexing on him because he has so much HP.
I think that could be the longest Mo 1v1 we've had in DFN history, actually. Pretty close.
All right.
It's always interesting to see the meta. I like whoever did the quick melee only meta. Was that someone like last week? I swear.
Yeah.
Looked pretty good, actually.
That was Vegas.
Vegas?
Vegas just went up there. He's just like, I'm just going to keep hitting the button. I'm going to keep tapping the button. But it was TF2 Avengers that won here, Jason, and they decide they want first pick.
Yeah, I mean, if you're TF2 Avengers, you want to secure Lash for Deathy right off the bat, of course. Very high priority.
I think it kind of forces the other team to ban Calico, so maybe that's why you take first pick slot.
Oh, are they going to Warden like early?
I mean, I don't hate Warden. I don't love it as the first pick. I do think the Geist looks pretty sick in pretty much every game. It just feels like you can't go wrong with Geist. You can be flexible with gun and spirit damage. You can be like scaling into a carry. You have good laning. I just feel like Geist just has a little bit of everything right now, similar to Calico. And Valhalla are actually going to pile the Geist ban, so TF2 Avengers get their Calico if they want it.
They should pick Calico here. I don't think in this spot you can give up Calico +1 really under any circumstances. Like, I don't think there's any hero in the game you can make an argument for as of you should first pick. I think 100% Calico coming in here, or it's a bit of a throw. I really can't.
Calico of the night too.
Yeah,
I'm duty bound to fight.
Okay, they take Warden first. I think this is gonna get Calico Viscous right now for Valhalla, and it's like monster broken to open the draft. But maybe I'm wrong. Maybe Mirage could be good.
I mean, that's the thing with North America. I feel like it's always so hard to predict what they're going to highly prioritize. In EU, it's like very staple. Like we generally know how the first picks are going to play out. But in NA, man, it comes down to like what teams are playing. I mean, we see Mirage here picked first for Valhalla. That was a fourth or fifth place pick for Abrahams over the course of our EU matches.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting. I mean, I guess the Warden pick was telegraphed with the early Sinclair ban, but man, from what we've seen, and you look at the EU tendencies too, where no one in EU wanted to give up Calico, period. To give up Calico +1 feels very wait, what? Okay, wait.
Wow.
NA, so look, I'll say speculation wise, based on what we've seen over the last week and a half now, 2 weeks of evidence from EU, the last week of NA, this is either going to go really well or really poorly draft wise, Jake.
Yeah, I mean, getting the major backline carries first strikes me as weird since there's like other good options in the pool, right? Like there's Wraith, there's other options, and yeah, you get Viscous for TF2 Avengers. I like that pick a lot actually, and I guess surely they take Calico now? If they don't want Calico, then the meta really has radically shifted in NA, but I just can't imagine it. It's like so stable. I think it's good against Infernus. You can like dodge the ulti from Infernus with your ulti, and these are like Infernus here you want to absolutely jump on top of and nuke down in the fight, force him out.
I think one thing we can't forget about though is we can talk about, like, oh, they should pick Calico. Why are they not picking Calico? Maybe they don't play Calico on the team. I think that's when you're like a player trying to come up in any of the scenes in EU or NA, you kind of have to focus on like 1, 2, maybe 3 heroes to kind of make a name for yourself. And then you finally get to a team, then you have to start to finally expand your pool from there. But then you have to learn like how the team plays. There's so much to do that maybe just there's no one on TF2 Avengers who can play Calico, or maybe NA hasn't really warmed up to how we see Calico played in EU. And to be fair, we don't see NA really mimic what EU does a lot of the time.
Yeah, it's true. The meta has always been so different in both regions with a couple exceptions, but you're right. I mean, I just think Calico is like beyond any strat you run. It's just broken economy maxing, getting all the boxes in the mid game. But neither team, I mean, it looks like it might not get picked. Maybe it'll get picked later. I do like TF2 Avengers, what they picked. I mean, this is a ton of CC and lockdown for Mirage and Furnace, right? You can stake them, Viscous can roll them, Warden capitalizes on that with the traps. And I just think it's one amazing catch and control for the opening of the draft. And already the team fight looks really strong and they have a lot of damage to boot. Like if you just had 3 heroes on a team, your team's kind of balanced for TF2 Avengers. And I like when the draft at the opening phase is already solid and you're not critically missing some element and the things feel really off. Whereas Valhalla, it's like they have the holiday for the catch and they have tons of range damage, but they don't have any front line. They don't have support. Like they're scrambling, I think, a little bit to fix some holes in the draft, which makes you more predictable and more liable to get some of your picks stolen away.
Well, you think about NA and things that NA has been doing a little bit more than EU, even though we did see Yamato earlier today in EU. Now you kind of wonder, okay, do you see Yamato come out? Like right now, Valhalla's going like, they've picked 0 frontline, even with Calico still being available. Yamato is still something that is out there. Shiv is actually still out there too, even though Shiv fell off in overall priority in NA. I mean, look, this is a different world relative to EU, and for me, I look at these drafts and it's like, the game changes so much every week that you got to keep an open mind on some of this. But honestly, should we get to the interview phase, finding out like why Calico has now gone from ultimate first pick all last week across both regions, all this week in EU, and the drop to 4th in NA is something else, because now they've locked it in here, Jason. This wasn't a case of, well, they just didn't have players for the Calico. Clearly they have a player for the Calico, but they had higher priorities in this game.
Yeah, I think it's also important to look at like what are comfort picks for players, and like what is, as a team, do you value comfort picks over like a good team composition, depending on like what your opponents are picking. And I mean, we know Goober insanely good Viscous. So I'm not surprised to see TF2 Avengers value Viscous so high in the beginning. But yeah, I guess it comes down to like how comfortable is the player on Calico versus how comfortable is the player who's playing Warden, and like the investment of, okay, well, we're gonna go with the Warden instead of going for Calico early on. Or maybe they know Valhalla's like a hero pool as well. Maybe they know that they don't really play Calico, so we can leave it for a later pick and scoop some of these up earlier on. At least one thing we see in North America is definitely a higher priority around Vindicta in NA compared to EU. I remember seeing last week Vindicta be banned quite consistently in a lot of these matches, especially with the Valhalla versus Melee Creeps match. And then we saw Vegas later on what he can do with Vindicta.
So
I'm worried about Valhalla. I just don't really get this draft. I think the Mo is going to be kind of struggling against Wraith and Viscous that can both stun him out of the ultimate, and Viscous has, of course, the save, and with Rescue being so good right now, for Holiday and Mo, I feel like Valhalla are playing a very pick-off centric draft. Maybe that will work. Maybe TF2 Avengers with less experience, less coordination on the team, maybe they're vulnerable to the kind of skirmishing play style. But I think if TF2 Avengers, especially with the pocket final pick to deal with the Shiv a little bit, if they can make this a game of like team fighting and AoEs, I feel like they have a much stronger draft. Like, I don't know how Valhalla are going to make enough space for Infernus and Mirage to work. There's just so many demands on them where if TF2 Avengers are just saving each other and not letting players get picked off and getting into a proper 6-on-6 team fight around an objective, I just feel like it's a huge advantage for them. Wraith can also maybe check Mirage on the side lane pushes and go for the solo kills. So I really like the TF2 Avengers draft. I know Valhalla should be based on our expectations, but I just much prefer the Avengers draft.
Yeah, I tend to agree with you. I think the method in their madness, where, by the way, I don't love picking Mo into Viscous in general. I mean, history has shown it's not the greatest thing. Oftentimes you will just lose combos to Cube. But I think the reason why they picked Mo late in the draft, beyond the, a more baseline idea of like, well, they need more frontline, was the idea of using Mo to lock down Calico. Like, Mo is one of the few heroes in the game that can keep a Calico locked down enough to actually kill her before she gets away using Return the Shadow and her crazy mobility. So that has to be part of the calculus here. But even still, it's a little bit tough because, yeah, you look at baseline power of these two teams. The TF2 Avengers draft, where the teams are flipped right now, but the TF2 Avengers draft on paper feels way, way better, especially getting, power picks like Calico late into the draft. But, Jason, as we take a look at the lanes here, give you a chance to weigh in before we bid you adieu for a little bit. What do you got?
I think the Wraith Viscous, I like it. Obviously, the Viscous is a lot of support and survivability when it comes to like any engagements, especially if you can't combo the Viscous, then you're realistically not going to be able to kill the Wraith. Picked up by Lona here, and I think it's a pretty smart pickup here, and a really lane that I kind of like here for TF2 Avengers. Even in the mid lane, I enjoy with the pocket and the Calico. That can still be a lot of burst, a lot of poke you can do, even going for the chase directly over onto League, being forced to back away. And then the right hand side, I mean, the Shiv Ivy, I don't feel like we really see it that often. And then of course the Warden Vindicta can be beefy, can have a lot of potential for some crazy damage if you can get a stake and a binding word.
Jake, I feel like this is one of the first pauses we've had where you don't get the pause where it's like, it looks like it's frozen. And in fact, it was a pause. But, Jake, what are you thinking right now?
Yeah, I think TF2 Avengers actually have some pretty sick lanes. I think Vindicta, if you ever stake somebody, they're just dead, right? Like they're going to get stake into Warden Trap and they're dead. And like, you're probably not going to skill those level 1, but that's a scary lane to be going up against with like an insane kill threat on you for somebody like Shiv. I guess Ivy can stone form and block a lot of it, but Shiv, it's kind of scary. And then even the mid lane, I think Pocket is going to put a lot of pressure on Calico. There's a lot of diving threat in that lane, and Viscous and Wraith have a lot of harass as well. I actually like all the lanes for TF2 Avengers, and I like their draft more. So I feel like just all, despite the pedigree from Valhalla and how well they played in the past, I feel like there's going to be an uphill battle for them here as we come off the pause.
Yeah, I tend to agree. I mean, on paper, from what we know of this meta, TF2 Avengers feels like a better team. But when you look at ways that this can go really well for Valhalla, baseline elements, even though it's been kind of a rough day for Holiday can go wild, not only in lane, but early on, and League fall through off of the poke on the Holiday just to see I'm talking about it. And I mean, the power in the middle lane here from just a sheer poke potential is really high. I mean, Holiday Mirage has always been really strong. And if it gets ahead, I mean, there is a world where Scout just does the typical Holiday thing and rolls around the map and just kind of crushes.
Yeah, you know, and honestly, if you're just dominating early game and you can snowball the lead, then I don't know how much the team fighting threat is even going to matter from TF2 Avengers. So maybe that's the goal here for Valhalla. Like if you're, I mean, I would have said the Calico pocket lane looks pretty strong, but I think you're right. Like Mirage and Holiday can be just as powerful fighting back. You hit a couple of those big connections with the barrel bombs and, you know, things get a little bit sketchy. Lord and M also stealing away some of those boxes that Calico would have loved to run. So Mo getting a bit of extra value here and Furnace being a little bit greedy, staying in the lane solo, getting rewarded for that greed.
You know, I'm glad we have the camera on Gibbs here because I think anytime, and again, this is more of an NA specific thing right now, is that you're more likely to see the Vindicta get played in NA. And NA, I feel like Vindicta has one of the more unique power curves in the game where you're looking to get value out of her into the early and mid game, you know, especially when Assassinate comes online. And then afterwards, you know, you end up being a little bit more utility. But, you know, you want your Vindicta to get big early, if at all possible. And, you know, a little bit of skirmish here might be good. However, Stoneform coming in from Zerbzy. They have done just enough cover there.
Yeah, still a ton of damage on a do. He might be dying from the passive. It's very close. Okay, looks like he maybe is just healing through it a little bit too much. Mirage continuing to put that pressure on in the mid lane. Very aggressive build on him. And Pocket, under a lot of pressure, takes a barrel bomb. He could be in trouble. Okay, no, this looks like Holiday's going to back off this. Has some cash, though, so could maybe buy some regen here. Restabilize the game. Tornado misses, though, and that's going to get... Looks like Deathy out of trouble. Yeah, he's healthy. He's not scared to take that one.
Maybe he should be, though. The fall-through's coming on in, and Calico HP going down into Flash. Scout, though, taking poking damage in turn, feeling the need to get on out, and TF2 Avengers able to turn things around. No fear from Deathy, and perhaps for good reason in and on the moment.
Yeah, it's a couple nice kills in the lane. Pocket's actually looking great in terms of getting that Affliction online very soon. Pretty defensive build here from Wraith in the side lane. Just wants to stay as healthy as possible, tank up through some of that oncoming damage. It seems like both teams are content to progress the mid game. Valhalla, it does have a 2K lead. It's not much, but I mean, it's relatively early to have a lead off just essentially pure laning.
Well, I think when you run the Holiday Mirage in particular too, I think you really try and go for the early Guardian kill even more so than the norm. Because if they're able to get that, Scout is immediately just going to be able to start roaming across the map, and they've already gotten the mid Guardian down to about
big
half.
hit on the dash. Yeah, turning this fight around onto Vindicta. Vindicta still has that flight, though, and it's hard to get the fault damage. Here's the stake now coming in on a Shiv. Could be in trouble. Warden, though, doesn't want to commit for the trap. A little bit of off sync here. And that's a big dagger. That should be enough to take down Gibbs. He's solo. He is going to bleed to death with the help of Zerbzy. Trap not going to proc, but Warden might just have the health to fight this one out.
It might be bait too. Like, I don't know. On one hand, like you look at that and you go, Shiv, you're super low, but it's so hard early on to do 1v2s in Deadlock that even if you have a big health lead, going in on it could be bad, especially if you're, you know, not the most cool.
So they have the dam up. Yep, here's the damage follow up on the Pocket. Big catch onto Deathy, who got parried, I believe, as well. So Scout just outplaying, and this mid has become a real sore spot for the TF2 Avengers. Mirage and Holiday are very scary heroes to have a great start. You know, Holiday, because as you said, she can just like roam hard and start to mess up other lanes, and then Mirage can just be this global problem where not only is he going to farm and become a crazy carry now that he's already taken that mid tower, but also he can show up a little bit earlier into the game.
We need a heat map now for Scout, because that is exactly what you're looking for when you put Holiday in the middle. And take a look at Scout's movement right now. Scout right now, I think, looking more for boxes, but now is the kind of the guessing game. Is Scout going for a gank, or is Scout just going to come back in and bully middle? You have way more room to maneuver across the map right now for Valhalla, and you've hit the ideal Holiday zone if you pick Holiday. This is a situation you love to be in. And, you know, right now you look at Scout, maybe Scout goes back to base. Scout easily could zip into left or right here, Jake, and make a play.
This kid's getting some big damage here on this roll. Mo's in some trouble. And Furnace as well taking damage. Goober doesn't necessarily have to kill with this, getting some decent trading here. Wants to maybe come up and look for more, but caught in the doorway. And just, you know, trading the roll for a bit of aggressive harass here on the opposing laners. Lead is stabilized. It's not too massive despite losing that mid lane Guardian, but it just gets hard to stay here for Calico.
Here we go. Take a look at Scout. Scout's going over the left. This is where the impact of mid lane is going to be felt here, where you can even fight going in, and Scout's about to make it very uneven. Lord and M able to take down Goober. And now you got the 3-man push for Valhalla here onto left. Scout going in deep, looking for the Wraith. Just needs a little bit more. Beryl gonna finish it off, and Jake on top of it. Very likely to get the Guardian right after. And you just see the dominoes falling from what happened in middle.
Yeah, and with the health buff as well, he can get so active. Mirage kiting all the way back. It was a very intense dive here from TF2 Avengers, but League surviving that is massive. He's going to be able to come back with a bit of HP, and he's starting to turn this fight around. 1v2, we talked about how difficult it is. He's taking that risk, and here comes the support now coming in, bailing out Valhalla in the mid lane. League on a 3-kill streak, and Mirage is one of the scariest heroes in the game to be in this position, to have that early lead, to have the enemy Guardian down. He can farm as he pleases and continue to aggress and take towers as he sees fit.
Yeah, and at any point, you can use Traveler to overload a lane that's in trouble. And by the way, you talk about people in trouble. You still got the pressure coming in from Holiday, forces out the Affliction, and that's more of a get off me sort of Affliction. It doesn't even guarantee that Pocket's gonna live here. It's just trying to make the chase down a little bit more dangerous. And Yam still gonna go down. Very. I feel like we've just seen the dam burst, and the dam's location was in the middle lane, because this is just going to get worse for TF2 Avengers. All the aftermath in middle.
Yeah, and Wander is so low as well in the ward, and he's not going to be able to pressure this lane as much. That's a nice snipe from Gibbs, though. Does take down Zerbzi. So this Vindicta, part of the strategy to fight back here. Valhalla leads slowly expanding. They're not anxious, right? They're not forcing anything to try and be too explosive, which I think would be a mistake here. They're content to just farm up, just continue playing this map.
Now, meanwhile, if you're TF2 Avengers, you need something to look forward to. And okay, Cube comes out, as expected, when someone's getting hit by combo. So good immediate reaction there from Goober, but telekinesis over and in. DMB now under the gun, looking for a little bit of reprieve. Up the rope he goes, and a decent spot here. Lord NM, half HP, and you take a look at this. Both Mo and Furnace not in the best of spots. Are any rotations coming on through right now? Appears to be no, and yet at the same time, both of them able to stay alive.
I mean, the pressure's on every lane, right? Who can roam, who can rotate when they're just trying to stay alive and get what farm they can. Deathy looks to be dead again here. Return to Shadows, only delaying the inevitable. Barrel Bomb gets to clean up. League as well, grabs the kill. Pocket's trading back, though. Grabbing one would be a nice find. And hold on, Mirage is a little bit low here. If Pocket get the second kill, this would go a long way towards stabilizing the lane. Mirage, not an easy kill, though. Has his tornado up in just a moment, so... For now, the Mirage lives. I think that's probably the bigger kill is the Mirage, if you were able to shut him down. I mean, he's already on a massive game here, 9.5k souls. On the opposite side, this Wraith, just over 7, right? So there's a big gap between these two in the early game. That's basically like a whole Tesla ball. It's not that you're going to buy that, but nice snipe with the ults coming in. This has been the best lane so far from TF2 Avengers, and it's going to need to stay strong. It's going to need to be the point at which they try to make this comeback.
Yeah, and even though Yam's done a decent job of keeping economy in a good spot, you take a look at the right-hand side. The right-hand side is ideally where you'd like to get a little bit of purchase, but over here, again, combo coming out. Viscous right there with the cube, limiting the impact of the Mo. See if the fall-through is going to be there, though. Still a decent spot is Valhalla. Gordon able to chase on down, and now DMB looking to get a little bit frisky here, forces out the goo ball from Goober.
Yeah, Goober's doing some pretty solid damage here. Oh, nice catch on the Infernus. Should be going down here. Yeah, there's the follow-up to Goober. It's a big catch from him. Will he be punished for that? There's a lot of players around. Seems like also a fight breaking out closer towards the mid lane. Vindicta looking to get active here. Has been the strongest character in the game. Would love to continue to accelerate that with a couple of these snipe kills. League goes down. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, some of these rotations for TF2 Avengers, not the worst. I think Gibbs having a decent enough game to at least bring this back more to a neutral for TF2 Avengers, at least best as you can. And yeah, this is why
it's a beautiful sight.
By the way, like, just walk on over, grab everything in the middle, rotate around. A lot of souls being carried by Deathy. And you know, one thing we brought up in draft, that late Mo pick when Viscous was already on the board, it's limited Lord NM's viability at times here, Jake, just because you know, we've looked at combo, and combo more often than not nullified by Cube.
Vindicta over the top now, pumping a ton of damage into this fight. Snipe just barely off time there on Deserves it. Now Infernus is on Vindicta. She's got to fall off this. Got to stay alive. Maybe Wander thinking about trying to take some kind of a fight with the ultimate, but hard to force a catch. And here's the counterplay from Infernus, just barely dodging the ultimate. Warden gets the ulti off, still has a bit of health left. Does he have the tankiness, though, to continue this fight?
Yeah, gets the ult off in plenty of time, able to heal back up at the same point, force League a little bit back. However, while that was going on, Valhalla was still able to get the earn turn, and so not the greatest overall back and forth. And, you know, while the teams look to be a little bit split here, maybe a good chance here, 12 minutes in. Jason, you know, what have you been seeing here so far?
Well, I've been seeing that, I mean, not to call them out in particular, I was just about to type it to you guys, is that I don't know if Wonder and TF2 Avengers has been getting the value out of the Warden first pick that you would want to get out of a first pick hero necessarily. I know it's still early into the game. We saw that last stand used more as like a retreating ultimate to make sure he can stay alive. But the fact is, like, it hasn't had that level of impact just yet. I think their lane's been a little bit tough. Like, him and Gibbs haven't been able to really pair together their combos correctly. As I think you guys mentioned before, we saw a state come through and catch on to do, but the cage wasn't going to be there, that binding word to lock it down to go for a kill. So it's been a little bit tough. Obviously, mid lane's been extremely tough for TF2 Avengers, but it is still a relatively close game, only a 5k difference, and we still have that like fight potential out of TF2 Avengers if they can get some catches in the jungle. I just worry at what point is Valhalla maybe going to get ahead, because the league is already looking scary with this 5-2 and at 14,000 souls.
Also, this might be a Warden about to get hit with a lasso. Secret, or rather a scout, is coming on in immediately, lands the lasso as if on cue, and all the firepower directly heading over into Wander. Wander gonna fall. The combo, you know, I'm not entirely sure the combo's needed there, Jake, but sometimes you want to be sure.
Yeah, you get like the extra HP, right? So it's just full breeding for the late game. Goober does straight back into the league, who's taken a big death right there. Something, but if Deathy gets traded right back, you're not going to feel nearly as good about this. Ivy has shown up Zerbzy. Pretty serious gun carry threat from him. And yeah, Deathy's running for the hills, but no chance. Scout has just been taking the game over, man. Every time this guy shows up to a fight, there is blood in the water.
I think this is what you need to see if you're going to play Holiday right now. You have to be this active of a Holiday, and you need to be early lane. Like, you think back to EU earlier today, and okay, last stand guy come out. I'm not sure Lord NM's getting away. It's a little bit on the close side. Shiv's just taking a look. Dude's looking there, being like, you know what, man, that's all you.
Yeah, nice counter kills. Stabilize things just a little bit, but I'm still worried because, you know, DMB League, they're still getting farmed, right? They're still doing what they need to do to like progress towards the late game. Maybe though, TF2 Avengers, I mean, I'm worried because I just wonder how their execution is going to be as a team, right? Like, that's the problem. But I feel like they do have the good tools for the late game, right? Wander went for kind of a greedier build. I think maxing Flask is, from my perspective, is like mostly a farming build, wanting to like get as stacked as possible, as early as possible into the game. Going for the YOLO snipe through the fog, I like that. And now Shiv goes down. So, I mean, honestly, Valhalla coordination doesn't seem to be going like that much markedly better. And these 1-for-1 trades are good for the team behind.
Yeah, I think if you're TF2 Avengers, you're pretty okay with some of this. I think the part that isn't as great is that I think because of the bad early game, like, I think Deathy right now is lucky to be on Calico, because other heroes with how mid lane went would probably be down at like 11 or 12k right now. But even still, this may be one of the more underfed Calicos that we've seen in recent times, just because of how tough the middle lane was. Like, usually Calico pretty ahead on box farming. Not quite the case here, but even that being the case, it's not out of reach so far for Avengers. But League again under fire, and okay, Jake, we gotta address it. League has been getting picked off a lot the last like 6 minutes.
Yeah, he's been struggling. That's his powerful silence, right? Without the tornado, you're not near as survivable. Here Infernus is trying to punish Lona for daring to defend this Walker. And yeah, this Walker is going to be going down. So as much as the pickups are coming in, big damage is being done here. Unrecoverable damage here. Valhalla are happy to get some Walker trades going. TF2 Avengers, though, with healthier players, just fighting strong on the map, grabbing some souls. Maybe Deathy could steal some of this vault if he want to.
You know, I look at the allocation, and it's a little bit tough. You know, I think Jason actually brings up a great point in the idea of, if you're going to pick something first, like you're going to pick the Warden first, you'd expect it to be more of the linchpin of where you're at. And you look at who's getting the souls right now. When your Viscous is 5k ahead of your Warden, I feel like something has gone a little bit awry in the game plan, because you look at the average farm on Valhalla, Wander's actually starting to get close to the zone where it's difficult to make an impact in fights.
I mean, Goober's got a lot of his farm just kills, right? Like, he is just kind of getting big off of getting some of these big pickups, and, you know, getting some of the last hits on Viscous with the heavy nuke damage is a little bit inevitable. But in the end, you're right. I mean, Warden needs to get more farm, needs to find a couple big team fights, but think Viscous can also be a pretty serious damage threat in this game. There's not really good control for him other than the Mo combo.
You right now. Getting one killing blow. Now, backing that out. Reset's still available. Take a look at the fight. Valhalla able to maintain earn control, and otherwise, back on out. And yeah, I mean, I almost feel the dark side flowing into you, talking about like Viscous and the carry potential. He's just like this devil on your shoulder. Jake says like, "Yes,
I will take the kills. I need the farm.
I am the carry now." You know, the darkest urges of any Viscous, but also Earn not being contested at all.
These are the things that are gonna make this game really hard for TF2 Avengers. It's just the inability to contest on objectives. I feel like that's like they've given up now 2 Earns. I guess they fought them a little bit, but and maybe they were right. Maybe they didn't have the strength to actually win those fights. In the end, this is Valhalla pulling off to a really significant lead on just the resource game, the macro game, right? The micro game, TF2 Avengers have been fighting well, and like some of their individuals have been, you know, making these trades go 1 for 1. They've been picking off some players. Here's a silence onto Infernus, but the Mo combo turns it right around. It's Vindicta who's been caught.
I feel like I mentally caster cursed Gibbs there, because in my head I was about to say, look, I mean, you talk about the microplay, Gibbs has had a fantastic game here so far, and then as I think it, Gibbs is just getting comboed, but I don't think it takes away from the point. Overall, it shocks me that Gibbs is only at 14K for the amount of good plays that were had earlier on, but, you know, again, you take a look at what's going on across the map. Yeah, you get a Guardian for TF2 Avengers, but the pressure is being applied heavily here by Valhalla, but okay.
It's a very deep chase. Yeah, that's pretty scary to chase a ship around the corner, but Deathy goes for it. I mean, why not? Take some risks, take some gambles. The punish could be here, but Calico in the cat form could be hard to catch. Still, Mirage, maybe we're the one to do it.
No return to
Tornado if he wants to force it. Oh, and the lift from Ivy. Oh my God, they're chasing him down.
Yeah,
this could also be a bit of a deep chase. People are here.
They want one of the 9 lives.
Yeah, and Goober's defending the Walker. Yeah, you got to back off this. And the Rading is getting a little bit crazy. TF2 Avengers. They're going to get right back into this game. If you can drop this Walker for free, you're actually in a pretty decent spot.
Yeah, I mean, Lonau, you can feel pretty good about things. Maybe they give their life here for the Walker, but they are all in. Grab the Walker and now decide.
He's got no lasso.
Yeah, not the greatest fight, actually.
Oh, slowing Hex. Great slowing Hex timing there, just when he wanted the TP out ahead, and he had to just tank the full duration of damage on him. Now Gibbs under pressure, no flight for a few seconds.
115 or 115 to 119 between the two teams. Able to get another solid pick off towards the end.
It's turning into a wipe. This is going to be mid boss. This is they were doing so well in the scrappiness, but then Valhalla got the edge. Deathy running out of abilities, not much left. DMB do get all the cleanups. They're a little bit low, but this is almost certainly going to be a mid boss. Yeah, I just don't see the contest here. And do you want to go for the super desperate steal on Goober? It's so risky, and the odds of success are so low.
The answer to that, Jake, is no. You look at Goober off on the other side of the map. Goober is not going to be making the Hail Mary attempt here. Yeah, you got a Warden nearby.
Warden might go for it. He's poor.
Yeah, okay, he's poor, but is he crazy?
Into the nest of sharks. Yes, he is.
Oh my, no, don't. Oh God, he's going for it.
Oh God.
And well, it's counted by Scout.
He needed a hero. Goober's here with the cube, keeping him alive. Surely he survives this. Goober's here rolling.
For you, the world was unchanged. The world
nice bounces,
but the world looked at the situation and said, "Nah, is where we're at." And good segue here to, you know, bring things over the Jason. You know, Jason, what are your thoughts as we see Warden go for the most ambitious steal, perhaps, of the year?
You know, the aura to try to change the world to just come down to a death like that. Yeah, no, obviously, I think they kind of realized they needed to contest, though I don't know if they actually had to be honest, but in that situation. I mean, lost 4 players, we were left with 2. Goober wasn't in position to get there earlier to like try to do any sort of contention, and now with them losing players like 1 by 1 like this, they're gonna lose a lot of objectives. You still have so many players left dead. I don't know what TF2 Avengers can really do to get back into. It only shows like a 16,000 soul difference, but honestly, it kind of feels like a lot more. I mean, I know Wander's been able to get a little bit more farm going his way, but he's still going to be one of the poorest players on his team. And with a Warden behind like that, that last stand it's not going to be anything.
The win comes out from Goober. This is probably your strongest thing you have in the game right now. The T-Fight. He's destroying DMB. And the damage is enough. The Warpstone Phantom Strike is so potent.
Look, this is the rare, like, when the fight wraps up, if we can get, like, the mid-match replay, that'd be great. That was, he actually Goomba stomped repeatedly over. The rest of his team is dying horrifically here, but Goober
Run, little
just had
man.
the full moment there. I mean, please, get out, like... I don't think he might not be getting out.
He's in trouble. Oh, the Phantom Strike, turn around. He's juking his way out of this puddle punch. What is this Viscous doing? He's dancing on him. Is he out? Oh my God, where is he? They're chasing him. They won't let him leave. The Goo Man, he's Goober. He's so low. He's 1 HP. Get it. No! Oh my God, it's a tragedy. That was remarkably close for this skate thing. I can't believe it.
Yeah. Also, you take a look at Valhalla. They're just actually going for shrines now. There's no chill.
Yeah, this game is over, by the way, ZP. I don't know. Everyone in the chat's probably already spamming it. Let's be real. That mid boss take, the advantage is formed. You know, you're at a 30K lead here. A big affliction, though. Hold on. Wait, as I say that, the caster curse may be exactly what TF2 needed. A couple kills in the feed. Valhalla, they're probably just trying to drop the patron here. At least they can get something out of this fight.
They're going to need more than a couple kills. I think you're actually, for Valhalla, given that you have Rejuve, you're completely okay giving that away. But, man.
Yeah, but you don't want to get team wiped like this, but you're right. The lead is still massive for Valhalla. Like, it's not the end of the world here by any means.
136K, 161K. Valhalla, firm advantage. Patron down a stage. Still a lot of time on the Rejuve, no less. TF2 Avengers running out of options, and I mean, you look at the overall economy split that you're at right now. There's so few win conditions for TF2 Avengers. Like, they don't really have traditional ways of getting pickoffs here, Jake. When you look at their team comp, there's no, like, the level of comeback mechanics that they have, aside from Goober just actually bouncing on you 8 times in the middle of the map. You know, unless you're going to replicate that over and over again for picks, you don't have much left to get clean pickups on Valhalla at this point.
Yeah, they have, like, basically Stake and Gooball into Warden Trap or Wraithbolt into Warden Trap. I feel like that's, like, I mean, the tankiness is getting kind of crazy right now. Like, Shiv, he's got the debuff remover. He's got the bullet resist. So just, like, a lot of ability to tolerate some of that damage. And here we see absolutely getting worked on. Like, DNB cannot press a button. He's hands-off keyboard right there.
That's just brutal. Like, that is an absolute devastation. That, in terms of styling on someone in DFN, I don't know if that's number one. You know, maybe number one is one of those Lefa 1v3 moments, but that has to be top 3.
Calico's got some players out, and there's a couple not in this fight for Valhalla. This is probably your best chance for TF2 Boomers to get something off. Warden looking for that catch, but now Valhalla kiting back, pulling deeper away from the map. Shiv can connect to this. Starting to get a little bit scary for me. TF2 Boom Avengers, they're going to go force this anyway. They're going to dive in. Mo under a lot of pressure. Affliction on a 3s, maybe good enough here. Scout's low.
Yeah, I mean,
Furnace is back, and he's starting to deal big damage.
It's a reasonable start for a fight, but the problem is League is just burning them up along with DMB. The actual range damage coming out is huge. I mean, we've effectively entered a world where the stat check alone just puts TF2 Avengers at a rough spot, even when you open a fight with a really good Affliction. And also, you got an overfarm Shiv that is ready to clean up. So with another 5 down, that is going to be Valhalla moving forward, taking down the Patron, and moving on into the money match for their shot at Hydra Nation, where, you know, the stakes are really big for Hydra Nation, Jake, where I just want to remind the viewers at home, it's not just the $1,000, but Hydra Nation historically will kick 2 of their members if they lose. So it's a live or retire match, really.
Valhalla just put that work in, man, in this game. And I also, TF2 Avengers put some challenging tests them. I think, like, some of those lanes were threatening, a lot of potential. That was even realized in a couple cases, but in the end, the macro play, the coordination from Valhalla, I mean, they got like 3 urns, uncontested, you know, kind of not even really a team fight, just a couple pickoffs turned into a team wipe around mid, and then they get the free mid boss. And so Valhalla just proving that, like, team coordination is so critical right now. But you also need the shooters, especially in the mid lane, how the dominant that was to put you in that position. So really well played, especially by Scout and by League in the early game, to just kind of, like, blow open that mid Guardian in what, just a few minutes. It was a really rough mid lane.
Yeah, you know, time to bring back in Jason. And, you know, Jason, the tone really was set by the beginning of the game, where you had the Mirage Holiday lane just take things over, and Scout got to break things open. League got really far ahead, and trying to come back from that was pretty darn difficult if you were TF2 Avengers, on top of the fact that even though it had moments of, greatness, the Warden Vindicta lane didn't really get a lot of farm to wander in the end and kind of fell flat.
Yeah, I think it's, I will say TF2 Avengers looked much better earlier on, ignoring kind of what happened in the mid lane than I kind of expected. Than we've seen in the past. I think we've definitely seen some level of improvements. Maybe that's due to comfort picks. Like obviously seeing Goober kind of run things around like that was a thing of beauty. They didn't lose necessarily as badly as we've seen out of them in the past. And if anything, I think maybe Valhalla were playing a little bit more fun, not for fun, but like a little bit more carelessly. Because there's definitely a lot of situations where League was just standing there and dying for almost no reason at some points. But yeah, I mean, as I mentioned before, like first picking Warden and then not being able to give the farm to him, not having that performance you need to have a first pick hero, that's not a good sign. And maybe first picking something else would have been a higher priority for them. What it would have been, I'm not necessarily sure. But either way, at least we got some good individual moments in this game looking at you, Goober, because DMB is not going to forget what happened to him in this game.
Yeah, I mean, DMB, it's kind of those things where you won, but, for more reasons than one, the viscous goo is not going to wash off. Like, it's going to be a little bit of a rough one where DMB was just the target of a little bit of Goober bullying. But we are going to be heading into our player of the match presented by Intel. Jake, who do we got?
Let's see. Let's reveal it. I'm not looking at the channel, so I'll find out what you guys.
You, Jake. I think we better probably ask me since I'm the one who chose it.
Well, you just talked, so it's like it's just the normal flow here. But Jason, by all means, take it.
Yeah, I just have to give it to Scout. I think just the beginning of the game really set the pace. Like that 1v1, not even a 1v1 necessarily, up against Deathy. Like the crack shot with the barrel, it immediately set things up to be such a strong lane for him in League. Then, of course, as you guys were talking about quite heavily, you just don't know where Scout's necessarily going to go. Is he going to be in the mid lane to look for a lasso into a kill? Is he going to join another lane like left or right side to look for more lassos and kills? He was just kind of setting things up and allowing League to knock them down and really create like that big opening that Valhalla wanted to use to get the ball rolling in this game. And that's why I kind of had to give it to him, though I did kind of want to give it to Goober, to be fair, but I think we'll get an extra special treat out of him later on.
Yeah, pretty nasty performance from Scout. Like, I totally agree with this MVP. I should have been able to guess this one. Dominant mid lane. He was the one who blew the game wide open time after time. He's the one initiating, coming in to turn a winning mid lane into a winning map, shutting down anyone who is like starting to get anything done. And it was just always Scout there and proving that, like, even though Holiday has fallen out of favor a bit with like the inconsistency of Lasso, that if you're just putting out tons of damage with those barrel bombs, your headshots are on point in the lane, you can be getting a lot done. But of course, gotta give Goober his love. I mean, this is some nasty viscous tech in this game. Put some dirty rolls on DMB here.
Oh man, if we were making like a DFN highlights for the year, I don't care what happens in the next 6 months. The Goober bouncing on it's in the reel. Like it's locked in. But before we go to break, we have our money match all set and ready to go. It is going to be Valhalla taking on Hydra Nation once more. Jason, any final thoughts before we head off to break?
Goober and the team might not have won the game, but they won the hearts of all the fans out there. I will say, Goober for me, not to shill for him in particular, has to be the most entertaining viscous player I've seen in the history of DFN, and not just here in this match. We've seen it in weeks before this as well. He's always hilarious and always pulling off individual plays like that.
All right, well, this is Deadlock Fight Night number 29, one away from the big 3-0, which is coming up next week. But we still got our money match here in North America coming right at you after this. Valhalla, Hydra Nation, you don't want to miss it. We'll be here in just about 5 minutes.